Good afternoon, ma'am and everyone.
Good afternoon.
Uh, so today we will to present about the comparative learning and problem-based learning. But I will to introduce our group. Me, Paulus Gigevron as moderator, and Fadila Istiana, Rahmawati, Indah Sagita Dewi Tambun Naloko, Anissa Marinda, and Yunista Chira. Next slide, please. Yeah. First point is a review of comparative learning and theoretical and empirical support. Comparative learning is an approach to learning where students work together in small groups to achieve common learning goals. This approach encourages collaboration, communication, and shared responsibility among students. There is strong theoretical and empirical support for this approach. Comparative learning theory. The theory behind comparative learning is based on the concept that social interaction and comparison among students can enhance understanding and learning achievement. The theory that support comparative learning include: 1. Social comparative theory refers to the belief that learning occurs through social interaction and collaboration learning. 2. Constructivist theory emphasizes the importance of construction knowledge together through discussion and collaboration. Example of comparative learning. 1. Think pressure. Students think individually, discuss with a partner, and they share ideas with the group. 2. Jigsaw. Each group member becomes an expert in the specific part and then teach fellow group members. 3. Round robin. Each group member takes turn contribution to group discussion or takes. Yeah, next slide, please.
Okay, thank you. Planning and conducting cooperative learning lesson. The first, cooperative learning planning. Cooperative learning, however, requires some unique planning tasks as well. The following are some of the unique planning tasks and decisions that teachers need to prepare for cooperative learning. First, Student Team Achievement Division, or STAD. Teacher using STAD present new academic information to students each week or on a regular basis, either through verbal, visual, or multimedia presentation. Students within a given class are divided into 4 or 5-member learning teams with representative of both sexes, various racial or ethnic groups, and a high average and low achiever on each team. Team members use a variety of study devices to master the academic material and then help each other learn the material through tutoring, quizzing, and another, or carrying on team discussion. Individually, students take weekly or bi-weekly quizzes on the academic materials. And the second, learning together. Okay, They have students complete assignment in 4 or 5 member heterogeneous teams. Rewards are most often based on the product of the team's work. More than other approach, the Johnson emphasized the importance of group dynamic, and their approach contains process for having students debrief and discuss how well they are working together. The emphasis, perhaps more than other approaches, helps students learn important social skills. And the next, the structural approach. Okay. Although it has much in common with other approach, the structural approach emphasizes the use of particular structure designed to influence students. Some structures have goals for increasing student acquisition of academic content. Other structures are designed to teach social or group skills. Thank you. The last is think, pair, and share. Step 1, thinking. The teacher poses a question or an issue associated with the listen and ask student to spend a minute thinking alone about the answer or the issue. Student need to be taught that talking is not part of thinking time. Step 2, pairing. Next, the teacher asks students to pair off and discuss what they have. Question has been posed or sharing ideas if a specific issue was identified. Usually, teacher allow no more than 4 or 5 minutes for pairing. And step 3, sharing. In the final step, the teacher asks the pairs to share what they have been talking about with the whole class. It is effective to simply go around the room from pair to pair and continue until about the fourth or a half of the pairs have had a chance to report. Slide, please. Okay. Conducting cooperative learning lessons. The 6 phases of cooperative learning and the associated teacher behavior for each phase are described in table 10.4. Phase 1, clarify aims and establish set. For teacher behavior, teacher goes over goals for the lesson and establish learning set. Phase 2, present information. Teacher present information to student either verbally, visually, or in print or online text. And phase 3, organize student into learning teams. Teacher behavior is teacher explain to student how to form learning teams and help group make efficient transition. Phase 4, assist teamwork and study. Teacher assists learning teams as they do their work. Phase 5, taste on the materials. Teacher assess student knowledge of learning material or groups present results of their work. Phase 6, provide recognition. Teacher behavior is teacher finds ways to recognize both individual and group effort achievement. And the last point is managing the learning environment. Cooperative learning is a student-directed teaching approach, and cooperative learning environments require attention to a unique and somewhat difficult set of management tasks. For example, describing to students how to accomplish a group project is much more difficult than assigning them problem at the end of the textbook chapter. It is more difficult to organize students into study teams and to get them cooperate them. It is to get them to line up for races or to sit listen to the teacher. Thank you. That's all for me.
Okay, my name is Indah Sagita Dewi, and now I will explain about assessment and evaluation. Assessment and evaluation describe appropriate ways to assess students' academic and social learning consist with cooperative learning goals. First, assessment and evaluation task, particularly evaluation, replace the traditional competitive approach described for earlier models with individual and group rewards along with new form or recognition. Second, newsletter. Websites and public forum are three devices teachers use to recognize the result of student work performed in comparative learning. In cooperative learning, assessment and evaluation are carried out on an ongoing basis and include group and individual assessments. Continuous assessment allows teacher to monitor student progress and provide constructive feedback. Group assessment evaluate the contribution and cooperation of member, while individual assessment ensure each student is responsible for their learning. Assessment criteria include involvement, cooperation, understanding of material, and the result of group work. Assessment methods used include observation, journaling or reflection, self and peer assessment, as well as individual quizzes and tests. Specific and constructive feedback is essential to ensure all students are actively engaged, work well together, and achieve the desired learning outcomes. Next slide, please. Okay. Next is about overview of problem-based learning. Learning final talk describe why it has been difficult to implement cooperative learning and why it is important not to hold unrealistically high expectation for this approach in teaching. First, in some communities, there has been strong resistance to cooperative learning, and some educators have made unreasonably high claims for cooperative learning. Cooperative learning is a very effective approach to improve students' social and academic skills. By working in groups, students learn to help each other, communicate, and appreciate each other's perspective. This method not only improves understanding of student matter, but also develops important skills such as cooperation, problem solving, and individual responsibility. It is important that teacher continue to support and facilitate cooperative learning with the right strategies, ensuring that each student feels supported and motivated to participate. This cooperative learning can create an inclusive and productive learning environment which prepares students for success in the real world. I think that's all for me.
Well, we move to, my name is Ramawati, and we move to theoretical and empirical support. So there are two theoretical and empirical support here. First, from the way and the problem-oriented classroom. So in democracy and education at 1916, the way describe a view of education in which school would mirror the larger society, and classrooms will be laboratories for real-life inquiry and problem-solving. The way and his disciples, such as Kilpatrick at 19 and 18, argued that learning in school should be purposeful rather than abstract, and that purposeful learning could best be accomplished by having children in small groups pursue projects of their own interest and choosing. This vision of purposeful or problem-centered learning fueled by students' innate desire to explore personally meaningful situations clearly links contemporary problem-based learning with educational philosophy and pedagogy of the way. Next is Brunner and discovery learning. So Jerome Brunner and his colleagues provide important theoretical support for what became known as discovery learning, which is a model of teaching that emphasizes the importance of helping students understand the structure of or key ideas of a discipline, the need for active students' involvement in learning process, and a belief that true learning comes through personal discovery. Contemporary problem-based learning also released another concept from Brunner, his idea of scaffolding. So Brunner describes scaffolding as a process in which a learner is helped to master a particular problem beyond his or her developmental capacity through the assistance or scaffolding of a teacher or more accomplished person. Maybe that's all for me.
Okay, we move to planning and conducting problem-based lesson. My name is Anissa Marinda. So problem-based learning is quite straightforward and easy to understand the basic idea. However, its effective implementation is more difficult. This requires a lot of practice and requires making specific decisions during planning and implementation. So there are some of the unique features of problem-based in teaching itself. So first one is about planning for PBL lesson. Planning for problem-based learning is made for students to be more interactive. The planning itself is made by the teacher in order to facilitate the smooth movement of students to achieve the desired learning goals. PBL planning itself is divided into several phases. Phase one is about decided on goals and objectives. In this phase refers to how teachers decide on specific goals and objectives in learning that will be given to students. And the second is about design of problem situation. In this phase refers to how teachers design or handle problems experienced by students. And then conducting PBL lesson. There are 5 phases of problem-based learning and required teaching behavior for each phase. And first one is about orient students to the problem. This phase, teacher goes over the goals and objects of the lesson, describe important logistical requirements, and motivate students to engage in problem-solving activity. And the second is about organize student for study. For this phase, teacher helps students define and organize study tasks related to the problem. And the next is about assist independent and group investigation. For this phase, teacher encourage students to gather appropriate information, conduct experiments, and search for explanation and solutions. The fourth is about develop and present activities and exhibits. So for this phase, teacher assists student is planning and preparing appropriate articles such as reports, videos, websites, and models, and helps them share their work with others. So the last one is about analyze and evaluate the problem-solving process. For this phase, teacher helps students to reflect on their investigation and the process they use. Maybe that's all from me.
And the next is from Kaka Franklin, but he doesn't hear. And is managing the learning environment. Managing the learning environment refers to the process of creating and maintaining a setting that supports students' learning and development. This involves design and organizing physical and non-physical space to facilitate effective teaching and learning. Effective management of the learning environment is crucial for creating a positive and productive atmosphere that fosters students' engagement, motivation, and achievement. It involves considering factors such as a classroom, layout, materials, and technology, as well as the interactions and relationship between students, teachers, and the broader school community. And the last one is from me, Fadila Isyana, problem-based learning, a final thought. In the final thought on problem-based learning, it emphasizes the importance of understanding and implementing PBL effectively in educational settings. It encourages educators to reflect on the theoretical foundations and empirical support for PBL. Plan and conduct PBL lessons with clear goals and objectives. Manage the learning environment to support PBL implementation and assess students' learning in alignment with PBL goals and speculate on the future use of PBL in education. And the last one is this section serves as a comprehensive overview of PBL, highlighting its special features and the benefits it offers in promoting students' engagement, critical thinking, and real-world problem-solving skill. That's all from me. Thank you so much.
So that's all from our group presentation, group 8 for today. Thank you.
Kakak Kiki. Okay, thank you.